We saw three surprising things at Canonical's booth at Mobile World Congress. I'll explain each of them in turn, but they all have to do with something called convergence. By convergence, I mean any mobile device running Ubuntu Core, which is a shared code base that allows mobile or desktop apps to run on any screen. So if you have a mobile device with apps designed for touch, you can plug it into an external display or plug in a mouse and keyboard, and suddenly those apps will intelligently optimize themselves for more of a desktop environment to take advantage of the mouse and keyboard. Basically, it turns your mobile device into a PC. Now, if that sounds a lot like what Microsoft is trying to do with Windows 10 and Continuum, that's because it's the same concept. But while Microsoft is struggling to finish its software and polish it up, Canonical has gone ahead and done it better. When I first wrote about the BQ Aquaris M10 Ubuntu Edition tablet, I had just witnessed a web demo performed by Canonical wherein they showed the tablet doing all sorts of multitasking applications hooked up to a keyboard and mouse. So basically it was functioning like a PC. Now, a demo is just a demo, and I took the whole thing with a grain of salt. Because the tablet itself has fairly middling specs. I mean, it's got a quad-core MediaTek chip and 2 gigabytes of RAM. It's nothing special. And I seriously doubted that in a real live demo that the tablet could provide any sort of meaningful multitasking experience. That's what I was thinking heading out to Barcelona for Mobile World Congress, but when I actually saw the tablet in action in person, I realized that my initial concerns were very off base. By the way, after I shut the camera off, I got my hands on the tablet myself, and I did my best to choke the system. I opened up a bunch of apps, I had it loading web pages, I opened up the spreadsheet, was typing into it, I turned on the camera app so that they had a live view going, and I even hit play on the music player. So I had all these apps really pushing hard, and I gotta tell you, there was almost no noticeable lag no matter what I was doing. I had at least 7 applications open the whole time. In terms of responsiveness, I actually almost felt like I was on a regular laptop. The web pages even loaded faster or just as fast as they would on my normal laptop. So tablet conversion is all well and good, but the killer use case for this type of technology is really the smartphone. You really want to be able to bring that smartphone into work, plug it in, power the external display, and have your mouse and keyboard input. To demonstrate this at its booth, Canonical had what amounted to just some old smartphone powering the experience. It's actually a Nexus 4, which is a phone so old that you actually can't buy it anymore. For now, there's no dual screen experience, although I'm told that that's coming. What that means is when you have your tablet or smartphone plugged in, you can't have that screen plus the external display. But Canonical built in a very clever feature to kind of give you a little something anyway. So even with your display off, when it's connected and powering that external display, you can use it as a touchpad. You can click, swipe, and even do 2-finger scrolling. So I was curious about what the minimum specifications would be for such a device, and when I asked, I actually thought I stumped the guys for a second, but Richard Collins, who's the head of Ubuntu Mobile, eventually made his point, which was they haven't bothered to define a minimum spec because there's so few phones and tablets actually on the market that can't power this experience. So far we saw a mid-range tablet powering a very impressive convergence experience, and what amounts to a low-end smartphone powering an okay convergence experience. How about some high-end hardware? Maybe a high-end handset. Maybe one like the Meizu Pro M5 Ubuntu Edition, which Canonical's just announced as the 5th Ubuntu phone. It's by far the highest-end Ubuntu phone, and it really does have some good specs. It's kind of an iPhone 6 clone, but it is a nice-looking handset, as is the iPhone 6. When I first wrote about the phone, one of the features I was most excited about was the presence of a USB Type-C port. USB Type-C has a number of advantages over the normal micro USB in a smartphone, not the least of which is power delivery, the ability to run alt modes, which is different types of protocols over that one connector. It's perfect for convergence because the smartphone can be charged by the display even while it's pushing pixels to that display. There's just one problem. The Meizu Pro M5 Ubuntu Edition doesn't have video out. Thus, effectively, the entire benefit of the USB Type-C port has been completely neutered. Everyone at Canonical was very professional when I asked them about this, but I still kind of got the impression they weren't thrilled with the omission. And the choice apparently wasn't really theirs. Richard Collins, the head of Ubuntu Mobile, told me that really the decision, it's on the chipset. So the decision was really made by the hardware manufacturer and not by Canonical. What Canonical has done here is no small feat. They've taken relatively low-end hardware, applied it to Ubuntu core shared code base, and provided us a convergence experience that allows you to use a mobile device as a de facto PC. Granted, there's still a lot of work that has to be done. All of the apps that run on Ubuntu have to be optimized so that when they're connected to a certain display or they're switched from tablet or smartphone into desktop mode, they have to intelligently scale to fit the given environment. However, I am told that this is actually a fairly simple process. All developers really need is the SDK, and to change just a little bit of code, it's mostly UI changes, and then they're good to go. I'm excited with what I've seen from Canonical, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they will do with this in the near future, especially when we get new hardware and they enable the dual screen display experience.